Officials say Barack Obama is about to announce big changes to his national security team. He's expected to appoint a new defense secretary, head of the CIA, commander in Afghanistan, and a new ambassador to Kabul. Well, to talk more about this, we can now cross live to Argentina. We talk to author and researcher Adrian Salbuchi. Adrian, thanks very much for joining us once again here on RT. Now, Defence Secretary Robert Gates is planning to retire in 2 months from now, with the current head of the CIA, Leon Panetta, thought to be next in line. Now, this man, he's got no military experience, and he's only been CIA chief for, 2 years. So why do you think he's going to be next in line? Why choose him?
Well, no doubt there is some reshuffling going around in the Obama cabinet, but I think that Leon Panetta is somebody who is an insider, so to speak, not so much of Obama, but I think we have to understand the Obama administration as a amalgam, so to speak, of Clintonites, of think tank, especially CFR and trilateral members, and of pro-Israel Zionists. So they sort of overlap altogether, and Leon Panetta would seem to be somebody they can trust in, definitely, to take over the Defense Department, especially when you have General Petraeus taking over as CIA director, supposedly in the very near future.
Yeah, what about Petraeus then leaving his command post in Afghanistan? Obviously, the war effort there has been bogged down somewhat. What sort of effect could that have on the ongoing campaign there?
Well, I think we have to join the dots, and that is something that is not happening with the mainstream media. I mean, we are speaking of Afghanistan. We are speaking of an area where the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, have been active for decades. We must remember the words of former British Foreign Secretary Robin Cook, who resigned in 2003 because he did not agree with the invasion of Iraq. And he said a short time later in the House of Commons that Al-Qaeda is basically a database of international mujahideen created by the CIA and the Saudis to funnel and smuggle arms, guerrillas, money, etc., to what used to be Afghanistan when they were invaded by the Soviets. So the fact we have to start connecting those dots. All of a sudden, we have the present commander, military commander in Afghanistan taking over the CIA, which, amongst other things, means that we are militarizing the CIA. I think people have to understand that the CIA's main objective is not so much, or not only, to just gather intelligence, but rather to serve as a military clandestine arm of the United States military abroad. In other words, they have the task to do certain things which it would not be nice for the military to openly do. President Obama, for example, admitted only a few weeks ago that the CIA was supporting the rebels in Libya. Naturally, the CIA is part of the war effort, and it ties in with a lot of dots that need to be connected, not least of which is the fact that when the Taliban were in power in Afghanistan, heroin and exports had practically disappeared. And ever since Afghanistan has been liberated and democratized by the Americans and the British, again, we have full-fledged poppy seeds and poppy flower exports again coming out of Afghanistan. We need to put all of these things together to really understand what is happening there, which is not so much what the mainstream media are telling us.
But some might say this is a shuffle of different posts, but featuring the same old faces. Does that mean that actually America's run out of qualified, talented people?
I shouldn't think so. I think that they have more than enough people to tap into. I would stress the fact that the Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, the entire network of very powerful think tanks have a lot of very capable people. So I wouldn't think it is a problem of not having sufficient people, but it's a question of putting the right spokesman in the right place at the right time, and to let them operate both openly as the U.S. military, which is now being taken over by Leon Panetta, but much more important, as the overt operations, which is what the CIA and MI6, and probably, although we're not talking about it, probably also the Israeli Mossad. So we have to understand, I think it's very important to start connecting the dots. Only yesterday, the day before yesterday, we learned that Abu Sufyan Hamouda bin Kuma, who was an Al-Qaeda operative, who was released from Guantanamo, very strange that he should have been released, has now joined the rebels in Libya. He is, again, we're talking about Al-Qaeda in Libya, cooperating with the CIA to bring as part of the Libyan so-called rebel resistance against Gaddafi. There are two types of regimes. We have to understand this. The good guys and the bad guys. The good guys can get away with everything they want. The bad guys are obviously targeted for assassination.
Okay, just finally and briefly, what does this do for Obama's political future, the shuffle around with these people around him? Does it boost his popularity ratings? Does it make things look a little bit more rosy for him in the future?
I don't think so. And very briefly, I would say that we have to keep in mind that Obama is not really the sovereign president of the United States, but rather the chief executive officer of a vast corporation called America. And he can act not otherwise than being just basically that, a spokesman for what people who have much more power and really call the shots are doing. And he merely comes out publicly and says what is being decided by these people.
Live from Argentina, author and researcher Adrian Salbuchi. Thanks for your time.
My pleasure.